You swallow 2 capsules with your morning coffee. 2 hours later, the toilet bowl is neon yellow. You stare at it and your stomach sinks. That was $12 a bottle, and it just went straight through me. The next morning, you stand in the supplement aisle, fingers aching from gripping your cart. 2 bottles of the same mineral. One costs $9, the other costs $26. Same milligrams on the label. You have no clue which one works. Then there is the handful you take at breakfast, 3 capsules at once. Nobody told you 2 of them are blocking each other. 3 frustrations. But they are not 3 separate problems. They are 3 symptoms of the same blind spot. Researchers mapped the exact absorption curve for one common supplement and found a threshold below which your body captures every molecule. Above it, the gates slam shut, and the cheaper form of a common mineral absorbed 22 times less. In this video, you will see the molecular gates that control what your body keeps, and you will learn why some supplements cancel each other out. By the end, you will have a simple protocol, one that gets the most from every capsule you swallow. If you're new here, welcome to Yellowhead Science, where we break down real health and lifestyle science in a way that actually makes sense. Join us. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video. Every supplement you swallow faces the same first challenge. It has to cross the wall of your small intestine and reach your bloodstream. Most people assume that process is passive. You take the pill, it dissolves, and your body soaks it up. That is not how it works. Water-soluble supplements use specific protein channels embedded in the intestinal lining. Think of them as molecular gates. Each gate can only process a certain number of molecules per minute. Once every gate is occupied, the extras sit in the intestinal fluid with nowhere to go. This creates what researchers call a sigmoid absorption curve. At low doses, absorption is nearly perfect. The gates are wide open. But as the dose climbs, the gates fill up and the curve flattens. NIH researchers tested this across a full dose range, and at the lower end, bioavailability was complete. Past a certain ceiling, barely a third of what you swallowed made it through. Here is the part that changes everything. Below a daily threshold, none of the surplus appeared in urine at all. Your body used every molecule. Above that threshold, the kidneys began filtering the excess from the bloodstream and sending it out. That bright yellow you see after taking B supplements is riboflavin. It has a natural pigment. The color is evidence that the compound entered your bloodstream, circulated, and the surplus was removed. That is not waste. That is overflow from gates that already took everything they could hold. The phrase, expensive P, gets it backwards. The yellow means the supplement worked. Everything in the last section applies to water-soluble compounds. They dissolve in intestinal fluid, travel through portal blood to the liver, and get filtered when there is too much. Fat-soluble compounds take a completely different route, and this is where the stakes change. When you swallow a fat-soluble compound, it does not dissolve in water. It needs bile acids to form tiny clusters called micelles, and those clusters carry the molecule to the intestinal wall. Once there, it crosses into the cell by simple diffusion. No protein gate. No saturation ceiling. Inside the cell, the molecule gets packaged into large transport particles called chylomicrons. Instead of entering the blood directly, they export into the lymphatic system, a separate highway entirely. These compounds bypass the liver's first pass filter, circulate freely, and then get stored in the liver and in fat tissue. This is why fat-soluble compounds accumulate. There is no kidney filter cleaning out the excess. What goes in stays in for weeks, sometimes months. Chronic intake above the safe threshold can cause bone loss, liver damage, and elevated calcium. Your body runs two completely different strategies. For water-soluble compounds, it keeps a tight gate system. Use what you need, flush what you do not. For fat-soluble compounds, it hoards everything and deals with the consequences later. You would think that the milligram number on the label is what matters. Same mineral, same dose, same result. But the chemical form changes how much your body absorbs, and the difference is not small. Researchers tested two forms of magnesium head-to-head. The poorly absorbed form at a higher dose produced a smaller increase in blood levels, while a better absorbed form at roughly half the dose outperformed it. One form delivered meaningful levels, the other barely registered. The reason comes down to pathways. Magnesium absorption uses two routes. At lower doses, active transport through specific channels pulls the mineral into cells efficiently. At higher doses, passive diffusion takes over, and the absorption rate drops sharply. The fat-soluble compounds have their own rule. They need dietary fat to cross the intestinal wall. A clinical study found that taking them with a fat-containing meal boosted absorption significantly, while a fat-free meal cut it dramatically. If you take them on an empty stomach, you lose a meaningful fraction of every capsule. Then there is the iron paradox. After every dose, your body produces a regulatory hormone called hepcidin, and hepcidin blocks absorption for roughly 24 hours. Researchers found that alternate day dosing delivered significantly more than daily dosing. The daily group triggered higher hepcidin, and their own regulatory system suppressed the very supplement they were taking. The science says you may absorb more by skipping a day on purpose. Here is where the morning handful becomes a problem. When you take multiple minerals at once, they do not politely wait their turn. They compete for the same absorption machinery. Calcium and iron both use a transporter called DMT1, a protein gate sitting on the surface of your intestinal cells. It cannot tell the two minerals apart. When both arrive at the same time, calcium wins by sheer volume. The practical solution is simple. Take them at different meals. Zinc creates a different kind of problem. When zinc intake stays high over weeks, your intestinal cells ramp up a protein called metallothionein, and this protein binds copper even more tightly than zinc. The copper gets trapped inside the cell, never reaches the bloodstream, and is lost when the cell naturally sheds. This is not theoretical. Study participants developed clinical copper deficiency from zinc supplementation alone. High-dose supplemental C carries a risk that depends on biology most people never consider. A large, prospective study found something surprising. Men at high supplemental doses had a higher risk of kidney stones. Women showed no increased risk at any dose. This is an honesty gate. That evidence applies specifically to men at high supplemental doses. It does not apply to dietary sources from food, and it does not apply to moderate doses in a standard multivitamin. The science draws a clear line, and that line matters. You understand the gates, the highways, the form problem, and the competition. Here is how that knowledge becomes a protocol. Split your water-soluble supplements into smaller doses. Your body absorbs a lower dose almost completely, but a large single dose overwhelms the gates. 2 smaller doses across the day deliver more total compound, far more than one big capsule at breakfast. Take fat-soluble supplements with your fattiest meal. They all need bile and dietary fat to form the micelles that carry them through. An empty stomach skips that entire mechanism. Separate competing minerals by at least 2 hours. Calcium and iron at the same meal is a waste of one or both. If you supplement zinc, make sure your copper intake is covered. Check the form on the label, not just the dose. The chemical form determines which absorption pathway gets used, and a well-absorbed form at a lower dose will outperform a poorly absorbed form every time. For B12, the crystalline form in supplements absorbs better than food-bound B12, especially for people with declining stomach acid. If you take iron,
Consider alternate day dosing. Your body's own regulatory system suppresses absorption on the second consecutive day, and skipping a day works with your biology instead of against it. One more thing worth knowing. Your gut bacteria produce water-soluble compounds on their own, and your large intestine has specific transporters designed to absorb them. This microbiome pathway is a backup supply line that runs every day.
The bright yellow in your toilet is not failure. It is your body's filtration system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The real question was never whether your supplements work. It was whether you were giving your body the right form, at the right dose, at the right time. Now you know. If this changed how you think about your supplements, leave a comment. Tell me the one change you are going to make. I love reading every single one. And if you want more science-backed strategies designed for someone just like you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video.